Thank you. Monday, April 23rd, Tufton Borough Board of Selectmen are in session. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our first order of business is bid opening on the former code officer's vehicle. I have 7 bids. How about that?
Feel like you're Karnak. There's a whole generation don't even know who we're talking about.
No, that's, you're right.
Want me to open those for you?
That's okay. Get done.
Back in the used car business.
It's very professional.
What's that?
It's very good, very smooth, good technique.
No.
No paper cuts.
Right.
Yeah,
My father
really.
used to do that, all his mail would be stacked up, nicely cut.
Problem is, this is a right-handed
Oh.
opener, and I'm left-handed,
Oh.
so, but whatever. We will somehow persevere. Okay. First bid from Spiderweb Gardens is for $1,655.
1650?
1655. Okay. The next bid is from Jeff Moody, and it's for $2,160.57. Jeff's an old pro at bidding on these things. Okay. The next one is from Scott Moody, and it's for $2,525.25. Next one is from John McNamara, and it's for $2,201.99. From Michael Fournier, it's $277. So never can tell when you're gonna get a real bargain, right? From William Graham Jr., $2,500.
How much was that?
$2,500.
2,500.
Yep. And from John Morrill, $1,200. Okay, you got them all?
Yep.
Yeah. Looks like Scott Moody's bought himself a truck.
Okay. Yep, high bid is Scott Moody, Post Office Box 1865, Wolfboro, $2,525.25. All right. Well, Karen, we have paperwork to sign, is that right, on this?
Yeah,
Do I sign that now, or when?
that would be great actually, if you just want to get it done, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. And usually you just do a motion to approve the amount and
I'll
everything.
make a motion that we award the bid for the code enforcement officer's former truck to Scott Moody of Wolfboro, Manchester, $2,525.25.
Do I hear a second?
Swear.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Congratulations to the successful bidder. Okay.
It's a left-handed cleaner.
I think it's ambidextrous. Yep. All right.
Thank you.
Give those to you. All right. Next, we have public input. And then we'll go on to review and approval of minutes for, all right. I don't, yeah. I don't have the 4-9 minutes here. I have this 4-9. All right.
I have
Okay,
none.
yeah, all right. You get the 4-9 minutes?
Yeah. I don't have copies for me.
No, I've read them
Use
before, I
mine.
just, yeah. We're
You all set?
we're good, yeah. Any additions or corrections?
I have none.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on approval of the public minutes on 4-9.
I'll move approval of the minutes from April 9th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And I have the one public here. I apologize for that.
Do you
So,
have the non-public?
all right. So,
I'll move approval of the non-public meeting minutes from April 9th.
all right.
Before I second it, I have a change.
Well, why don't you second it and then we'll change it.
Second.
Yeah.
And I ask that the last line when it says with all in favor, the motion passed 2-0. That be
Since
replaced.
you were not.
Part in the room.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. All right,
That's
So
all I
I'll
have.
second that amendment.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And those are public.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep.
Confidential.
No. Okay. The Selectmen's work session, Friday, April 13th. Any additions or corrections to that?
I'm all set.
I'll move approval.
All right.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. The first non-public from the 13th,
It'll be the 10:13.
the 10:13 a.m. Yep,
I have nothing.
okay.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Those are public.
They are. And the 10:37 non-public?
I have nothing.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
And those are all set.
Yep. None of those are sealed, so, okay. Mr. Howard, come on down. Welcome.
Well,
Like Monty Hall, right?
Yep.
I'm here to give a brief overview on the Dietz case. That's correct.
Thank you.
As you're aware, on May 9, the Supreme Court will hear a case that Dietz has brought against the town of Tuftonboro, specifically because the zoning board granted equitable waivers to a neighbor of Dietz for some building that took place in 1999 to 2008. The board held a hearing on November, and I'll pass out what I put together, a brief timeline, and I'll have one for the record.
Thank you.
And then the second page shows the actual plot of the Sawyer Point property. And it's the plot to the left that is the Dietz property. And I think it's color-coded fairly accurately. In fact, it came from the Sawyer Point attorneys.
So the block of property here is all deeds?
No, it is all Sawyer Point.
Okay.
And what happened is this is a property that dates back probably to the late 40s or early 50s that never had a full-blown survey until 2014. And at that time, it was noticed that, as you look at the map, the page 2 that I gave you, the purple line that's straight across the property was the measured location of a 50-foot setback by David Braun, who was the builder for the Sawyer Point. The blue line that you see is the actual location surveyed by Jim Raines and the White Mountain Survey Company. As you can see, there is a space that's color-coded yellow that is in between what was thought to be the 50-foot setback in 2008, and for that matter in 1999, and the 50-foot setback as it actually exists, done by survey. The equitable waiver that we received in front of the zoning board was for the portion that's in yellow.
So the piece that's in purple was granted a waiver in 2008.
That's correct.
And
It was.
at that time, if the setback had been correctly annotated on
Correct.
the plot, then that would have covered the piece in yellow as well.
That's correct. So there wasn't a variance granted for the purple addition in 2008. That was actually an extension of the part that you see that's in green was done back in 1999.
What is this wording right here, do you know?
That word, no, I don't know.
Right there, it's too small for me to see.
Primary bearing, I don't see attached note. I'm not sure what. I
So
can-
that's the 2014 measured boundary, right?
What you see here is correct, it's 2014.
Yes.
Prior to this, there was never an accurate survey done.
So when, this all has to do with the what was that act? Shoreline Protection Act?
Yes.
And was that in force in 1999?
No, not that
Okay,
I
so that,
But it was in 2008.
Yes.
so the 1999,
What was that, Jack?
Wasn't prior to this, it was after this, in 2008.
all right,
Right.
the
It was
1999
in-
edition.
I'm sorry, it was in effect in 2008,
Yeah, but after this,
but
after that application,
After the application.
after the 2008 application.
correct.
Okay.
So we can assume that the purple is not at play, right?
The purple was in play at the time. I mean, the purple is what the builder thought based on his measurement.
The
Right,
purple's what he got approval for.
That's correct.
Okay.
but,
And he didn't get approval for the yellow because at that time, everybody understood that it was not in the setback area.
Correct.
so the yellow equitable waiver happened in what year?
That building took place in 2008, the yellow.
Okay, so that's 2008.
But when did the equitable waiver happen?
In the equitable waiver was granted in November of 2016.
Okay. Really? And there's no statute of limitation on this sort of thing?
Not really. There is a 10-year window that which covers the 1999 build, and because the discrepancy was noted after 10 years in 1999, it's not as stringent to grant an equitable waiver as it was for the 2008.
And what's Dietz looking for a remedy?
He
And I don't
want-
even know that he's got standing, but let's assume he does, the Supreme Court's going to
He'd like to see the
whole building taken down.
the second story, the green, the purple, and the yellow taken down. His attorney's position is the board should never have granted a building permit in 1999, and that the board should
But
not.
was there a 50-foot setback in 1999? The Shoreline Protection Act didn't happen back then.
Correct. No, there was. In 1999, you just went and got a building permit,
Right.
and that's what
I think it was like 25 feet, or I don't know. I don't
Yes.
remember.
it was something, town may have had some regulation. But the 50-foot setback did not come into play until 2008.
If I understand it correctly, when this first became an issue before the town, and you're the landowner of where the purple is, you were of the understanding that it was going back to what is the agreed upon boundary, right?
Setback.
Setback, it goes back to the, you figured the purple line is actually where the blue line is.
That-
You, the person, the owner of that property, and the town assumed that it was a proper boundary, correct?
We did, correct. We assumed the purple line was the proper boundary.
Okay.
Correct.
And it's also my understanding that when it comes to two pieces of land, and I have an issue with you, it's the first licensed
I'm good, how are you?
survey that takes weight, correct?
As far as I know.
If you and I have an issue,
Yeah.
it's the first legitimate,
That's correct.
okay, and for me to beat you in court, I just don't have to prove that it probably the civil standard meets. I have to have a higher standard, correct?
That's correct. In fact, in order to grant an equitable waiver, first of all, the violation needs not to be noticed for 10 years or more. The violation is not an outcome of ignorance of the law. The physical dimension does not constitute a public or private nuisance, and the cost of correction far outweighs any public benefit. So when we analyzed this particular case, we thought the Sawyer Point met all of these conditions, and so we granted equitable
So
waiver.
was there a house there prior to 1999?
Oh, yes. No, the truth is the green outline, or if you take a look at forget the green is the second story.
So it's the hash mark.
The black hash marks, correct.
Okay, that house was there prior to 1999?
Oh, yeah. That
So,
probably goes back to the late 40s.
And all the property owners that abut were properly notified?
Oh, yeah. No, everything was followed. That should have been followed at the time frame the work was being done. And it was the same builder.
Yep.
But the builder in 1999 and in 2008 used sketches of the interior of the house to describe what they were going to do for Sawyer Point, that met Sawyer Point, and then did put in one line that said, well, we're about 50 feet from the, I measured it as best I could under the circumstances, and we're 50 feet. So that's when Sawyer Point came and said, you know what, we wanted in 2008, we want to put a small addition that would follow the footprint of the existing building.
Now, is Sawyer Point an association, or is it a particular landowner operating under a?
It's a particular landowner.
That's this one parcel.
Yes.
That's correct.
Sawyer Point LLC. And what's at issue here is not the footprint, because the footprint.
That's correct.
Right, it's what, a second story on top of the footprint?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's the
So,
yellow portion and only the second story of that yellow portion.
only,
and that was added in 2008.
Correct.
so all of the green isn't at play, it's just the yellow,
Well, all of the black that you see is not in play. I mean, that's been existing.
right?
Dietz is arguing that the green, in addition to the yellow, needs to be gone. Because
All of the green.
That's correct.
And Dietz is he's obviously closer than 50 feet from the lake.
He is, and in fact, years ago, he got an equitable waiver for his construction process, because, or a variance, because his property doesn't meet setback rules.
And was some other activity in play with respect to these two property owners, is that right, that may have?
Yes, these two property owners don't necessarily get along very well.
And they got a common
And-
driveway too.
Well, that's where the thrust of the difference exists, Chip, because when the Dietzes moved in and redid their house, they paved their driveway.
Oh,
And if you take a look at that, they did move into Sawyer Point's property.
right.
And so Sawyer Point is the one.
Whereabouts?
Down at the bottom.
This area here.
And so they're the ones who ordered White Mountain to do a survey to find out, hey, I think this got paved over my property.
Right.
And through use of the survey and a metal detector, they found the pin under the pavement. So they went and took Dietz, I believe, to court. I don't know the details, and they won a judgment against him. And now, in close examination of the same survey, hey, those expansions that you got, you shouldn't have gotten that expansion permission. Because
It's such a wonderful thing to be a lawyer. God,
Job security.
It's a lawyer
this is
full
just a
employment.
money-making
Yeah, that's
opportunity
right.
down here.
Yep,
God,
yep. So it's tit for tat.
It's a domestic.
And,
Yes.
and we're ratcheting it up, right?
it's a
Okay.
shame the town of Tufton Borough's involved, but we are the ones, the zoning board, that granted the equitable waiver.
Right.
And so the town was taken to court. We went to Superior. The Superior Court, right in Carroll County, the judgment's almost 30 pages, which I'm told by Rick Sager,
decision,
but
yeah.
double to triple the standard length. And I have to say, I'm very proud to report that the Superior Court backed the zoning board 100%. There were no issues found of any sort. Every judgment that we made, the court acknowledged was a reasonable judgment based on the evidence that was presented. So we thought this was probably going to be the end of it. We were wrong.
Well, I mean, unless they change their ways, the Supreme Court's not going to overturn on the facts. They're just going to overturn on
A point of law.
point of law.
Yeah.
So if the judge messed up
Correct.
on their reading of the law, so
I mean, we did the best we could to apply the equitable waiver criteria. We listened to all the, I mean,
Right.
there were surveys, not just a survey, but a comparable examination of property values and whether or not there's any
diminution.
correct. And Sawyer Point had an exhaustive survey done very professionally. The Dietzes had one done, but it was an opinion. It was it was one page. And everything, the builder was there, David Braun, and he described the method that he used. He said, I've used the best practice of the day. You know, I'm not a surveyor. And I was focused on the interior of the building, not distance from the shoreline.
Now, how long have you been on the zoning board?
I think I remember the 2008. I
And
wasn't chairman.
And how many of these do you have? Is this like the first or second one that, in your experience on the board?
Equitable waivers? There aren't too many of equitable waivers, but we grant variances for something like this quite regularly. In fact, almost probably 2/3 of all of our cases are variances for, you know, my cottage dates back to whenever I want to put a second story, I want to screen in. All right, does the drip line exceed what it currently exists? No, it doesn't. Okay, you have a right to enjoy your property with a screen like all of your neighbors do. So we see this kind of stuff all the time. There was nothing extraordinary about the 2008 application. And it is worth noting that the Dietzes never objected in 2008. In fact, there was not even a letter from them. It wasn't until this survey.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try the case. I mean, they kind of slept on their rights. If they had a problem in 2008, they should have done something then.
I brought that out. I asked Mr. Dietz directly, why didn't you say something before? And he admitted, I didn't know.
Didn't know he was gonna have a lawsuit about the driveway.
Right, yeah, that's
I
right.
didn't know that was gonna happen either.
Yeah.
Rick, I've talked to Rick Sager about this, and he is not surprised, as I mentioned, that the Supreme Court has accepted the appeal, because they do that for every appeal. He is surprised that they're asking for oral arguments. He has not submitted any sort of opinion on his own on behalf of the town, because the Sawyer Point attorneys, who he has been coordinating with, are doing all the arguing.
Right. Attorney Arnold. Yep.
In fact, he does not even plan on attending. I'm going to attend just for my own sake. I'd like to see what the Supreme Court...
Well, you're the chairman of the Board of Variance or
Oh,
Board of
yeah.
Adjustment?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna-
we need to have somebody there,
Yeah.
because at some point, the court may ask a question of the town, and if the town doesn't have anybody there,
Right.
Marlo can't answer for the town, he can assume this is.
And you can make an offer of proof.
So I recommend that you authorize Rick Sager to go, in fact, ask him to go, even though he's not going to be arguing, just to represent the town, because it is technically the town that's being sued.
It's like Holmberg's case with that street there. We own the street, so that's why we're in court, right?
Yeah. This is really an argument between two neighbors who don't like each other and don't get along.
Yeah.
But we're wrapped up in the middle of it, so.
Yeah.
Rick Sager would like to go, but he didn't feel comfortable, since he's not arguing and he didn't prepare a brief, to bill the town for.
And your recommendation is that we should be represented there?
Yes, I agree with Chip. I think, you know, it'd be a good
He can
idea.
stand up and say, Arnold is gonna do the oral, I mean, that's not a
Yeah.
problem,
Right.
right? Or he's already said.
Well,
that's
and
what
I
I'm
think
saying.
it's great and proper that you're there, but courts are the attorney's playing field, so.
Well, I plan to be
it's-
on the cheap seats. I know.
Well,
I'm not
you know,
gonna be up front, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't wanna have something happen there where
I
the court
understand.
decides against us because there's no
Because we didn't care.
Or,
no offer.
right,
proof
or
on our
they
side.
decide against us, and if we'd had somebody there that understands what's going on, they could stick his hand up and say, excuse me.
I agree.
So-
So could you please tell Rick,
Yeah.
on behalf, he offered to drive down with me if it turns out he could go.
Yeah,
And I said, that's fine. We'll
no,
But I'd love to see you.
you have a legal budget in ZBA, right?
Yeah,
we
So-
do.
broke them apart.
Yeah, so it's on your dime. But no, I absolutely,
Okay.
no, I.
It's also a
absolutely-
learning experience.
Yeah, absolutely support.
All right, then I will
Yeah,
call Rick
counsel
after
there.
this and we'll plan on going.
Set it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, bring home a win.
Yeah.
Okay,
When
again,
is-
thank you for your time and effort.
We have to set the date, when does that happen?
The
Is that scheduled?
May 9,
May 9th?
yep.
2 weeks from Wednesday, right? Yeah.
Travel safe.
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you, Mr.
Thank you
Howard.
again for your efforts.
Anything else for us?
No, not at this time. It's pretty quiet in the zoning board.
Okay.
We rarely see
So
anything.
you prevailed in Brusso, was it Brusso?
Yes.
Well, you
We
decided in Brusso.
We decided unanimously not to grant a special
But the
exception.
court decided to say you were right, I think.
The court has not met on
Okay.
Crusoe. They were waiting on the zoning board.
Okay.
All right.
May I ask a
Yes,
question
you
while
may.
you're here? Just to, so I can get it in a nutshell. One thing is the boundary dispute over the driveway. He's paving over, it turns out he's paving over his neighbors.
The boundary dispute I gave as background for the selectmen. It is not part of this case to
Oh, okay.
in any way, shape, or form.
It's not on paper as part of the case.
Correct. This,
Okay.
this case is about the amount of construction that Sawyer Point did.
Okay, the second level.
Correct. There's, if you measure it out, there's actually they received a variance for 12 feet or so. They should have received variance for 22 feet. So there's a 10-foot section that, had we known what the correct boundary was. But in 2008, we didn't need a formal survey.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah, my copy.
So, thank you, Chuck. So it's the amount of construction and the height.
and, no, not so much the height, it's the
It's the
amount of
setback.
construction, it's the setback. That everything
The
that,
builder estimated the 50-foot setback, and once it was surveyed to exactly conform to the shoreline,
There
It's
was a
about a
difference.
12-foot
Yeah.
difference.
And you'll see, if you flip the page to the,
The builder surveyed on behalf of Sawyer Point.
I don't even want to use the word survey. The builder measured
Oh, okay, he measured and then Sawyer Point did a professional survey.
in 2014.
Yep.
And it was driven by the
So it
driveway.
has to do with the setback.
Correct.
Okay. Are we
Thank
clear?
As clear as I can be.
All right, great. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Be
Chief
safe. Happy
Thompson.
spring.
Yep.
Morning, Chief.
Thank you.
No crying fire, I'm proud of him, right?
Thank you.
Currently, we have 57 fire calls, 40 EMS, 5 service calls, 2 special details for 104 for the year. 5 gas permits have been issued, 4 oil burner permits, and inspections have been done. Wood stove and pellet stove inspections 3, life safety 4, for a total of 16. As you probably know, the last windstorm on the 16th had some minor isolated damage throughout town. Affected Route 171, Governor Wentworth Highway, and Middle Road. During that, there was also a metal shed roof that blew off a home on 171. There was 2 motor vehicle accidents during the storm event, and no injuries reported in either of those. The Carroll County Coalition for Public Health has been holding a CERT, Community Emergency Response Team training on Wednesdays at our training room at the Central Station, and they've had a good outcome as far as they've had more people than expected that has actually been showing up to the trainings. They originally said that there would be about 5 people, and there was 10 or more for the different classes. We've been involved in teaching some of the different modules, the fire-related modules, such as fire extinguisher use and search and rescue part. The search and rescue part of the whole training is coming up on the 25th, and Chris Morgan's going to be teaching that to them. They're going to be continuing to use the classroom until the end of May. After looking at the electric bill, apparently the meeting that Selectmen Markison and Doug Smithwood went to and talked with the New Hampshire Co-op, they were successful in reducing the service charge down to $58.64 from $351.85.
Is that per month?
That's per month. However, looking at the bill a little bit further, now the delivery charge has been increased by $136.17. So the